Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you for being here. It is the last segment of the sort of disaster preparedness, earthquake awareness, tsunami awareness videos. So in this video, I wanted to talk more about like the actual preparedness part of earthquakes in Japan, and just disasters in general. No matter where you live, there are going to be disasters and things that you should be prepared for. So I wanted to share with you some of the things that Japan specifically has sort of laid out for you to do before an earthquake or any other type of disaster, and hopefully it will help you and inspire you. So let's jump into it. First and foremost, we have some goodies on what you should do for an earthquake. So this is basically 10 ways to prepare for an earthquake. In Japan, a lot of the even like 100 yen shops have things that you can buy to kind of secure your furniture in place and your electronics and anything that might be valuable to you. So basically purchasing that and securing your items will help you not be like me and have everything in your house fall down whenever there's an earthquake. The Valentine's Day video, the aftermath of that was crazy. Luckily, nothing in my house personally broke, but there was stuff everywhere. Oh no, that's not true. My rice cooker broke. It was free. I'm so sad. The rice cooker breaking is just one thing and it can easily be replaced. It's not a big deal. But you don't want to be in a situation where everything you own has, fallen or broken. The next thing is to make sure that your house is sort of built to accommodate things like earthquakes, or any disaster wherever you live. Japan specifically has a sort of system in place to ensure that the houses built and businesses built are earthquake resistant. I'm sure you've seen a number of videos online where someone's filming an earthquake and the building's outside and they're all kind of swaying. Well, that's because they've been built to be able to do that and not lose their structure. You still don't want to be on like the bottom floor of a building, but keeping that in mind, the higher up you go, the longer and more violent the shaking will be. So that can be really scary. I live on the second floor of a building, and the earthquake that we had was really, really scary. But there are buildings around me that have like 30 plus floors, and I cannot imagine being at the top of those apartment buildings during an earthquake of that magnitude. No, not for me. The next thing on this list is to avoid injuries, so basically have things in your house to help you avoid any damage to your person. So if something is broken, have indoor slippers so that you can, walk through safely to clean up. Flashlights if the lights go out, things like that. Then it's to be ready for action, be prepared. So tackling a fire, there's a fire hydrant, you have access to water and buckets to sort of deal with those things. Install fire alarms. We have these in houses in America, so it's not a big shocker, I suppose. But, make sure that these things are working. Emergencies. Emergency kits. Know where your supplies are. Have your supplies. I'll go through, not like take out all of the stuff, but I'll go through my personal emergency pack here in a minute to sort of show you what I have in mine, and also what Japan suggests that you do. But this is telling you to know where your emergency supplies are, make sure that you have warm items, especially if it's in the winter. Make sure you have batteries or backup chargers for your electronics. Another thing that's really good is like a generator. I don't have one, and I really, really want to get one, but they're kind of expensive. But I want a solar-powered generator because that just seems like a great thing to have in a disaster. Another thing that they suggest that you have, and I do not have one, but it's like a burner, a gas-powered burner, so that, you know, if you lose gas to your apartment or electricity, you still have ways to like make the food that you already have if it's not like just canned stuff. The next section is to learn about safety. So, you know, have a family meeting, know the potential hazards in your area, you know, like walls that could collapse or anything that could just fall and cause a lot of damage. Keep informed and then get training. So learn, essentially going to a class, which is just learning how to help your community, what you can do whenever a disaster happens, the best ways to, basically like a fire drill, going through the steps, like constantly sort of retraining yourself to be able to handle those situations better. So the next bit are tips for safety. This is obviously protect yourself first. If you've watched my Valentine's Day video, you saw that like basically the first thing I did was just get down, and that's because everything's on my desk, and so I got under my desk. Especially with the warning going off, you know, that means that it's an earthquake that can do a lot of damage. So you want to protect yourself first, which is by getting under something sturdy, holding on, and waiting for the shaking to stop. So after the earthquake is done, that's whenever you would start, you know, checking to make sure things are okay in your house. If anything's damaged, you can deal with that, but you want to stay calm, check to make sure there are no fires. If there are, put them out quickly. Another thing that we're sort of taught to do is to always have the gas on our stoves turned off. If an earthquake happens while you're cooking, you should immediately turn off your range and then turn off the gas to make sure that nothing can spark, and then get to safety, because that's a huge hazard. Another thing that you want to do is to not panic. You want to make sure that there are no injuries to you or someone else because there was a panic caused. So just try to remain as calm as possible and deal with things in a really careful way. Next would be to open the doors. You know, you've checked if there's a fire, you've put it out. You need to open the doors because you don't want to get locked into your home. So there can be warping after an earthquake, and if it warps and locks you in, then you're stuck. And after an earthquake, you want to stay away from fires, if there are any. Check to see if there is a tsunami warning. If there is, get out as quickly as possible, get as far away and as high up as you possibly can. The most recent large earthquake that we had, immediately after there was a tsunami warning, it didn't last too terribly long, but it was issued. After this, you want to make sure that your family is safe. If you have family around, and your friends are safe, and your neighbors are safe, you want to make sure as many people are safe as possible. If someone needs help, get them the help that they need. So lastly, I just sort of want to talk about the emergency kits that you should have in preparation for a disaster. My emergency kit looks like this, and I need to go through it and organize it a little better, but it does have some heft to it. I'm not sure that if in a disaster I would use this particular bag, because it's so like crinkly and annoying, but I understand why it's this like violently yellow and reflective color, because in a disaster you want to be able to be spotted. I had just posted a video about Atahama Elementary School, which was an evacuation site for the massive tsunami that came after the 3/11 earthquake. And one of the biggest challenges that the area faced was a lack of food and water, because they just weren't able to cook with electricity down and gas not working. So heating was an issue, and then, lack of water and things. Not in this bag, I have two different water containers. One is enormous, and then the other one is a little more manageable. Because you had the lack of water, hygiene was really difficult at that time, so you want to take steps to kind of make sure that this doesn't happen again. One thing is, if you're in an emergency area and you haven't evacuated for whatever reason, they have water spouts, which are basically just like outside faucets, normally in public parks, and also in some neighborhoods if there's not a convenient place nearby where one of those can be installed. And it's so that if anything happens and there needs to be a community water, basically watering hole, people can go and still get water and are able to do the things that they need. Mine, thank goodness, was recently replaced, and it's basically right next to my apartment, so that is a true blessing, and I'm very happy. And then the emergency kit itself has some things that you should have, which are obviously copies of your documents and things that you're going to need. 10 yen coins are so that you can make phone calls if you need to at special phones that they have available. After that, you will probably need something like a small sewing kit, scissors and tape, gloves for helping with pickups. Some suggest that you get a hat, plastic bags so that you can deal with waste if you need to go to an evacuation center, and a raincoat, because you can never be too prepared for the elements. A radio, they have quite a few. There's one that you can get that's a crank, and you can charge your phone with it, which is really cool. Obviously, eating utensils, now they are suggesting extra masks because of COVID. A whistle, this is because if you are buried, you don't want to be yelling. You're going to exert your voice too quickly, and you won't be able to yell for help. Candles and a source of fire, batteries, and flashlights. I have 2 different types of flashlights, and then finally lots of non-perishable foods. So my pack specifically has energy bars and canned tuna. I bought Spam even though it was incredibly expensive. I also have corn and fruit, canned versions. They also have something in Japan called aojiro, which is basically made from kale or wheatgrass, and that's so if I'm in a situation where I need to intake my vegetables, I still have access to that without causing too much of a disruption, because they're just in little pour-in packs. They're really easy to take and go. And obviously lots of water. In addition to that, I have some pour-ins that are basically energy drinks to replenish electrolytes if I needed to, and some sort of morning smoothies, but that's just because I really like them. Next to that, you have your first aid kit, which basically, because of the lack of ability to maintain hygiene, you want to be able to clean yourself off. So a lot of wet wipes are suggested to be in your kit. That's if you don't have access to water, you still want to take a shower and try to remain as clean as possible. So I have a massive pack of wet wipes in my emergency kit, just in case. Now they are suggesting hand sanitizer, again because of COVID, and disinfectants. If you need medication, make sure you have some in your emergency kit. And then on top of that, just like normal things like medicines to help with, pain or cuts or bruises or burns or anything like that you want to have in your emergency kit, just like you would in a first aid kit. Blankets that are made specifically for emergencies. You can think of like those really stupid looking aluminum blankets. Those are basically what they're talking about. Or some that you can get from like a military surplus that are made to keep you really warm. So there are obviously a bunch of things that you can take away from this video and ways that you can prepare in your own life for a disaster. Obviously this isn't like the end-all be-all to emergency kits or disaster preparedness, but it is something that you can think of and try to get ahead of just in case. This is something that we sort of deal with daily. If it seems like it's too much for you, another thing that Japan sort of suggests that you do is not be overwhelmed with what you're buying. Don't like go out and buy very specific things for a disaster. Just buy a little bit more of the stuff that you already have, and then whenever it's starting to deplete, you can go and buy just a little bit more with your regular grocery shopping so that you don't feel overwhelmed with the things that you're purchasing. So I think that is all for this video. I hope it helped you, and I hope you are doing well. So stay happy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!